that Dr. King was gone. In the 5 years since I'd assaulted Andrew Young, I've changed. And now Dr. King was the man whom I most admired. And I had the dream. I had Maggie's dream.
Well, how is it that you did come to admire him so much?
You know, if the most wonderful person who ever lived, if the smartest person I ever knew in my entire life, if the best human being I ever knew in my life, my Maggie, if she believed thus and such to be so, I simply had to, re-look at everything that I thought and study it and start out with giving her the benefit of the doubt and seeing if she was right after I studied it and worked on it and prayed about it and asked God for forgiveness. And I realized that she was all that, and I became the person she thought I could be if I would get out from under that thick, white, racist skin.
But you never saw Maggie again.
No, I never saw her again. I wrote her a letter.
Oh?
Yeah. I wrote her a letter. Yeah. There was a big march being planned. It was going to go from Selma to... I got it. I wrote her a letter. There was this big march that was going to go on from Selma to Montgomery, and it was all organized. It would be about a 50-mile hike across this water over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It was taking place on March 7th, and 600 people showed up to take this 50-mile walk from Selma over the bridge to Montgomery. And they got to the top of the bridge, and they looked down, and there were the stormtroopers, the cops, and the whatever they had on horses with clubs and guns. And when they approached them on this peaceful, non-violent walk, that army of stormtroopers were on those 600 people and just beat the daylights out of them, and blood just all over the place. The bridge looked like an abattoir, and they had to go back. They were stopped. It was a Sunday. It's called Bloody Sunday. But they regrouped, and they said they'll do it again in 2 days. And on March 9th, Dr. King joined them, and the number swelled to 2,500 people. And they walked again from Selma toward Montgomery, and they got to that Edmund Pettus Bridge, and they got right up there on the top of it, and down below, on the other side, there was the stormtroopers waiting again. And they had kind of opened up to say, come on in, it looked like maybe. And Dr. King, he stopped the march right there. It was a Tuesday. He got down on his knees, and he said a prayer. And when he stood up, he turned around, and he led all of them back to Selma. That was Turnaround Tuesday. Don't know why he turned them around. Don't know why he went back, whether he thought, oh no, they'll kill us for sure this time, or if he was following the directions that he had pleaded to him by LBJ. Don't march this day. Wait, don't do it. Maybe Dr. King said, all right, we'll go back. Turnaround Tuesday. The next day, I heard that Maggie was going up there for a third attempt, and I didn't want her to go, and I wrote her a letter. I got it here, what I said. I got a copy. I said, it's dated March 11th, 1965. It says, Dear Maggie, I know you don't want to hear from me, so I'll keep this real short. I heard you are going up to march with Dr. King in Alabama from Selma to Montgomery, and I know I couldn't stop you even if I tried. Please be careful. Please be careful. Please know that I'm sorry, awful sorry. Please know I'm changing. I'm working at it. I'm trying to. I'm so ashamed of myself. You were right about everything. I was so wrong. I was no Christian. When you see Edie, please tell her how sorry I am. And I just signed it below.
Did she write back?
No, I never mailed it.
Well, why?
I had second thoughts. I figured I'd hurt her enough. I knew she was better off without me. I hurt her so terribly. She deserved better than me, so I never mailed it. Anyway, that third attempt took place. It happened several days later on March 21st, and the numbers that had started at 600 and went to 2,500 were now 25,000. And they marched the 50 miles to Montgomery, and the number swelled to 32,000 by the time they got to Montgomery. And the wisdom today is that that march was the strongest, the biggest impetus for the passing of the 1965 Voting Rights Bill. And now, all these years later, 2012, there's folks saying they want to repeal that civil rights voting bill. They want to repeal it. If that happens, it'll be one of the biggest national tragedies of incalculable proportions that ever happened in the history of this country.
I agree, totally. A national tragedy.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Folks are so foolish, stupid maybe, I don't know. You know, there's an irony, I think that's the word, an irony.
What do you mean?
Well, all the ologists say that human life began in Africa.
What are ologists?
All the archaeologists, the anthropologists, the genealogists, all of them.
Oh, okay.
Of course, they're scientists, you know, and science doesn't count for much today with a lot of folks. And but they say it all began in Africa. That's where human life began. Now, here's the irony. There's an outfit in, I think it's Provo, Utah. You can look it up on Ancestry.com. You can look it up. They'll do a search. And they did a search of President Barack Obama's family tree, his ancestry. And they found that his great, 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 great 11 greats grandfather was the first African slave to be adjudicated in a court of law. Up until this point in 1640, a black man was the property of another because the deed had been exchanged or the auction gavel had gone down. But this great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was adjudicated in a court of law to be the property of this white Virginia farmer. What had happened was he'd been sold into slavery and he'd escaped. And he went on the land with two white fellas for some other whatever they were on the run for. And the three of them were arrested, brought back to stand trial. The two white guys were let go for whatever their offense was. But that day in that court of law, for the first time ever, a judge adjudicated this black man to be the property of this white man. Now here's the kicker. That black great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Barack Obama was found on his white mother's side. Now that ought to tell all the Bull Connors and the David Dukes and you know who they are. You and me, it ought to tell all of us something. We are all African American.
You said in your letter to me that you worked on President Obama's 2008 campaign. Are you active now in some way?
Yes, I can't drive anymore, but I'm still good on the phone, you know, calling folks up and trying to get them to get registered to vote and trying to raise money, promoting hope. Yes, dreaming the dream.
Dreaming the dream.
Yeah.
Andrew Young came back to St. Augustine last year. Did you see him?
Yes, I did. He came back because they were going to dedicate the crossing. That's what they call it, that path where he walked over there to sustain that beating that he took. He came back. They were going to dedicate the crossing. It's a coquina in concrete, a concrete-based coquina pathway. And there's 4 panels there, and each one is stamped with a word that says what the civil rights movement was all about. One panel says freedom, and the next one says nonviolence, and the next one says justice, and the next one says equality. And He came back and he walked in his shoes in that coquina-based concrete, and then they bronzed his footsteps. And I've gone over there more than once, and I've walked in his footsteps. You know, you stick something down in concrete, you pull it out, it kind of gets smaller. Those footprints don't look awful big. But I'll tell you, I don't think there's many that could fill his shoes.
Did you get to speak to him?
No, I didn't speak to him. I could have. I wanted to. He would talk to me. I know. I just cheered him on with everybody else. He's such a great man. I mean, he was prominent in that early civil rights movement and what happened here in St. Augustine. But he went on from there, you know, to be President Carter's ambassador to the United Nations, and he served a couple terms in Congress before that. He went on to have a couple terms as mayor of Atlanta. He's a brilliant, good, brave man. Andrew Young.
Did he talk about the night in the plaza?
Well, one person asked him why he didn't stay down. You know, why get up and just get knocked down the end? Why didn't you just stay down? And he said, this is what he said. He said it was part of our discipline. You never let violence stop a movement. You never stop. If one person falls or is even killed, someone else must take their place.
And Dr. King's son was there.
Yeah. Dr. King's son was there, too. Nice fella, laughing. And George McGovern, Senator George McGovern was there. He lived here in St. Augustine for 6 months of the year. He died just a few months ago. I had the pleasure of dining with him on 2 different occasions, and he was a wonderful fellow. You know, folks will remember that Richard Nixon defeated him when McGovern ran for president, Nixon's second term. But his real legacy, I think, is perhaps, and I don't know if everybody would agree with me, that he might have done as much as anybody, or more than most at least, to end that Vietnam conflict. And he did more to alleviate world hunger. A lot of folks don't know that. In all those years, in his retirement, wonderful man, George McGovern. I knew him. Yeah.
You didn't vote for George McGovern in 72?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Did?
I know it's hard for you to understand, but Maggie changed me. She changed my life. She changed my philosophy, my understanding. She changed my politics. Yeah, I voted for McGovern. I'm glad I did. I'm proud to say it. Yes, I did.
Mr. Lee, what can you tell me about the St. Augustine Foot Soldiers Monument?
Oh, boy, I can tell you about that. Maggie's a part of that monument. Yes, she is.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the monument. The monument weighs 675 pounds. It's made of stone and bronze. There are 4 faces in it. It's in the park not far from where that path is that Andrew Young walked. It's the Foot Soldiers Monument. It's named after all of the hundreds of thousands of people who marched, who tried to get this movement going. And there are 4 faces there in bronze. The first one is of a black man in his 30s. The second one is of a black woman in her 60s. The third one is a teenage black girl. I think she may represent the St. Augustine 4. You remember those 4 kids that got locked up. And the fourth one is a white college student. And for me, that's Maggie. And I talked to the engineer in charge of that. He told me they got that stone, 675 pounds, sitting down on beneath the surface. A 10 by 12 concrete pier that's 1.5 feet thick. And I just want to believe that that monument is going to be there just forever. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
I want to believe that too.
Yeah.
And I believe we have enough.
Ah, good.
Chuck, Mike, Susan, that's a wrap.
Thank you, Chuck.
Come on in here for some coffee.
Thank you, Mike.
You too, Mr. Lee.
No, I can't come in. I'd like to. I appreciate the offer, but I got to get down to the polls. My friends are waiting down there. I didn't know I'd be gone this long. They want to know what we talked about here.
Well, just one more thing before you go.
Yeah, sure.
You said, I've got it right here, I was a witness to the greatest transformation imaginable
That's
in the
right.
United States of America.
That's absolutely correct.
I know you meant the civil rights movement,
Well,
but
yeah.
I think you may have made the greatest transformation imaginable.
Well, that's nice of you to say, and I was transformed. A lot of folks have changed, though. Not, I mean, there's a lot of folks right here that lived through it, that they're changed. They're not who they, you remember Billy, the car stoner I told you about?
Yes,
He
yes.
went into Vietnam, and he got blown to bits over there, but they discovered he was still alive. He had a pulse, and so they got him, I don't know, they evacuated him to wherever, they got him, they put him back together, and he lived, and he thought his survival was an act of God. And when he got out, he went to college. Now, none of us ever thought Billy was college material. And when he got done with college, he went to seminary. And he got ordained in some church. I don't know what it is, but the nurse who nursed him back to health when they got him stateside was with him for a couple of years. She was an African-American nurse, and he married her. Billy did. They got 4 children together, and they're together working for some organization up in the Midwest, and he travels between Chicago and Detroit running a food pantry or something like that. That's Billy. Now, there was a transformation for you. Yeah.
Well, some folks would say enough has been said. We don't have to keep talking about it over and
Well,
over again.
I know they say that. They say that about the Holocaust, too. You know, we got revisionist historians that say the Holocaust didn't even happen. You know, there will be folks who will say that what happened, that I'm telling you right now happened in St. Augustine. You give it enough time and there'll be people saying, I've had a couple people say to me already, we don't want to hear this. We don't want to know that. It didn't happen like that. If we don't tell the story, we'll do it. We're doomed if we don't learn from history. We're doomed to repeat it, and we've got to tell the story over and over and over again.
We must.
Amen.
Are you going to go vote now, Mr. Lee?
Yes, I am. I've got dream fever. I got Maggie's dream. I'm going to go vote now. Say, you staying in St. Augustine, Miss Towns?
Yes, I am. You can call me MJ.
MJ. All right. You can call me Bo.
Yes, Bo. I'm at a bed and breakfast over by Marine Street.
Oh, I know there's some nice ones over there. Never been in any. Still got my house here, you know. Yeah.
Very comfortable, very comfortable.
Yeah.
My husband died 6 years ago.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
our children, Andrew and Rosa, are
Wait a
grown.
minute. Andrew and Rosa, you named your children? Andrew and Rosa, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful tribute.
Yes, well, they're all grown and so
Yeah.
are their children.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm thinking of moving back here to St. Augustine.
Oh yeah, you lived here before?
Yes, during my college years.
Oh yeah.
Over on Magnolia Street.
On Magnolia. That's where Maggie lived. You
Yes.
say MJ, like in Margaret Jean.
Yes, Bo.
Maggie, is that you in there?
Yes, Bo, it's me, Maggie.
Maggie, my Maggie with the long brown hair.
Well, no, Bo, it's short and gray now. But, dear Bo, I'll drive you to the
I'm so
polls.
sorry, I'm sorry for everything I did, everything I'm so sorry. I hope it's not too late to forgive me. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It's not too late. I'll drive you to the polls, and after we vote, after you vote, how about if we get some fried clams? How would that be?
We tartar sauce.
Yes, with tartar sauce.
And,
But only if you'll sing me one more verse of Precious Lord, and then maybe together we could look at all those papers and books you have. Just give me a minute, and I'll be in there with you.
we could look at
Together.
them together.
Together.
Maggie, my Maggie.